In this episode of the Friend to Friend podcast, we are joined by my amazing friend, Cara Couvillion. She is so awesome. She's so talented. She runs her own clothing boutique, which is so cool. And she is the mom of two amazing girls. She's here to share her story about how God gave her unexpected joy when life took a shocking turn. She and her husband found out that their second daughter has Down syndrome. And at first it was a shock, but God changed it into one of the most beautiful and divine gifts that their family could have ever imagined. So get ready, get your tissues ready, tune in. It's gonna be an amazing time. It's real, it's raw, and it's so beautiful. Hey guys, it's Tori Townley. We're here on the Friend to Friend podcast, where it's all about finding connection and inspiring change. I'm so excited because today we get to have one of our great friends, one of my great friends, special guest, Cara Couvillion.
Hi.
How's it going?
It's going great.
Thanks for being on.
Thanks for having me. It's an honor.
So
it's an honor for sure.
No, it's our honor, big time. So, okay, let me tell everybody a little bit about you. You are one of my personal heroes. Like, you just have such an amazing gift.
You're so sweet.
You have an amazing family. For people who don't know, you and Steven run an amazing realtor group here in town, which is local famous.
Yes.
Y'all sold us. Y'all sold me and my husband my first house, which was awesome.
Our favorite clients, yes.
Yeah, right. You run a boutique. You have two daughters. You are like known as a creative director. You do, I don't even know, like you've coordinated weddings, styling, like all kinds of amazing stuff. We just love you so much.
You're so sweet.
You're a great friend. Like like for our family, I've known you since you were like, what, 4?
Little baby.
Little
baby. Little
so
tot.
weird. It's so weird to think about.
I know.
But like our families have been intertwined forever. And just watching you and Steven and your family and how you guys, I was thinking about this, everyone around you is elevated from knowing you. So like you guys, I mean that genuinely. Everyone who is connected to you, I've heard just never anything negative. There's integrity. There is an inspiration that you guys bring to everyone that you encounter.
So sweet.
And it really, it's just so inspiring.
It's the biggest compliment you can give me. Oh my gosh. So sweet. So sweet.
No, you are awesome. We love y'all so much. And I just wanted to invite you to the show today because you have an amazing story, an amazing testimony. Yeah. And if there's anybody who is well connected and inspiring others in their personal lives, it's you.
So much. Oh my gosh.
It's a lot. But just in your own words, like tell us a little bit about you, like some of the fun facts and what you love. And,
So as she said, I'm Cara Couvillion. My husband and I do run a real estate group that is more him than I. He is the rock star behind that. I help him and support him any way I possibly can to do that, whether it's marketing or social media or graphics or whatever. And so he had a vision to start that back in 2000, really since he started real estate in 2017. But he really came to me in like 2018 and was like, hey, I think my passion is people and stewarding people and leading people. And it totally is if you know him. And so he started up this team and he has been a rock star at it and just growing tremendously in the Baton Rouge area. And so, it's been really fun to like be creative with him on that too and kind of put my spin on things. He's the realtor through and through. I'm the creative. He's creative too, but being able to like help him with things behind the scenes and that kind of stuff, it's been really, really fun.
So cool.
And then in 2022, I launched the Authentic Clothing, my third baby.
You're beautiful.
Shameless plug. It was really something I started getting a passion for back in 2021. I had several dreams about it. I had several people approach me like, hey, you should really start up a boutique, like an online boutique and all this. And I was like, you know what? Like, why not? This sounds really fun. I was also going through that like postpartum motherhood journey of like, okay, who is Cara Couvillion outside of being a mom and a wife kind of thing, and trying to kind of navigate life and finding myself again. And so I started the Authentic Clothing with the passion behind really trying to find clothes that inspire women to feel good about themselves no matter what they're wearing, and trying to let them step outside the box while doing that. And so cool. Hence the name. And it's literally my third baby. Since having my Indie Joy, it's taken a back burner, and I've had to take a few steps back from it, which I'm so sad, but it's just a season. Yeah. And she's more important during this time anyway. So, but yeah, that is my third baby, and I am excited to pick it back up one day. Today's not that day, but it is definitely something that like I started, and I'm like, this is so fun. Like I love every aspect about it. So, but yeah, I have 2 baby girls. I have Ruby, who is 4, and I have Indie Joy, who just made 1 back in October. She's the sweetest thing ever.
So both the girls are so beautiful.
Thank you so much.
I think so too. My son might marry one of them.
Yes. We need some Cosmo in our
Cosmo
life.
and Ruby.
Oh my gosh. Can you imagine that? If they ever started a business, that would be a fantastic brand name. Like,
oh, that's cute.
Yes, it's so cute. It's so cute. So anyway, yeah, they are the light of my life, and my current everything I do right now is for them. So it is a full-time job.
Young motherhood takes over a lot, doesn't it?
It does. Yes. Yeah.
Yep. You guys are my heroes.
You're so sweet.
I know I've said that, but when you talk about, when I see you and Steven, like there is just such a united front about you guys. And I'm sure it's like we all have arguments in our marriage and things, but like you guys are like, it's so oversaid, but power couple. Y'all conquer the world together. And like, I have been a recipient of the thoughtfulness and the intention that you guys have put into it. Like, not just the business, but caring for people. Yeah. I know that the realtor company, the realtor group, is an avenue for y'all to minister to people because I've felt it. Yeah. I've gotten handwritten notes. I've gotten, hey, like it's been like 3 years since I bought a house, but I'm still getting like, hey, thinking of y'all. Hey, checking in. Yeah. And I know that is a drive for humanity, not for good business. Absolutely. I'm sure it goes together. Yeah. But it just is such a beautiful way that you guys live, like your values. Yeah. And then your company, I love shopping on your boutique. Oh my gosh. And then things sell out. I'm like, oh. I know. It's just so good. So I just love the drive that you guys have. And I know that you've mentioned you have 2 daughters. Yes. Lots of things have changed over the last couple of years for you. Last year, you welcomed, like you mentioned, Indie Joy. She just turned 1 in October.
October, yeah.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
I know.
I remember the day that she was born. Like my Aunt Casey, I know you guys are very close. She showed me a photo, and I like, oh my gosh, melted into a million pieces.
I know. She's the sweetest thing.
Such a gift. Ruby is the best big sister.
She is. And she's feisty. We love her for it.
She's so cool. Yeah. But I know that like your world changed a lot. Indie has a very unique story, and you have a very unique story with that. Will you tell us a little about the adventure of bringing her into the world?
Yes. So back in 2021, we found out we were pregnant, and that was a total surprise. Actually, Ruby is the one that told us we were pregnant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We were actually sitting in our friend's house, JD and Claire, and she came up to me. No one was talking about babies or anything, and she lifted up my shirt. She goes, "Mommy, there's a baby in your belly."
Stop.
And all of us like looked at each other and we're like, what? No. That's not true. Ruby, stop. Like, no, that's not true. But lo and behold, we got home 2 weeks later and I took a test and I was pregnant. Ruby. So my little prophetic daughter told us
no kidding
that her sister is coming into the world. So crazy thing is, the day I found out I was pregnant was actually the day I launched The Authentic. And so yes, it was all the same day. And so it's kind of been a whirlwind since launching The Authentic of just complete chaos. And so I don't know if many people know this, but fast forward a few weeks into my pregnancy, I thought I was miscarrying about 9 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Went to an ultrasound. They couldn't find anything. There was literally nothing in my womb. And the ultrasound tech actually said, like, she doesn't see anything, but we want you to come back. I got blood work done, and my blood work looked fine, but there was nothing in the ultrasound. So I went back 2 weeks later, and lo and behold, there was a little gummy bear Indy, and it's so cute. And she was there, and then around 24 weeks, we went in for an anatomy scan, and my OB was like, hey, we see something on her heart, but we don't really know what it is. Come back in a few weeks, we'll check it again. So we went, came back, and we're sitting in the OB's office, and Stephen went to leave for an appointment, and she goes, hey, you might want to stay for this.
Oh, no.
And I was like, oh no, that's never good. It's never good. So our OB told us that she sees a heart defect, but she doesn't know what it is, and she's going to send us to a specialist. So of course, you know how these things go. Like, it's never like, hey, you're going tomorrow. It's like, hey, you have to wait another 2 weeks. So we wait another 2 weeks, and we go to the specialist, and we walk in, and it's the most like doom and gloom place ever. Like, it's never like a fun environment. It's always just so heavy. So we go in, and he does the ultrasound, and he goes, yep, I can confirm this is called an AV canal defect.
Oh, gosh.
And I just want to inform you that 30% of these heart defects also include Down syndrome. So your child also could have Down syndrome.
Oh, boy. And
it was the most outer body experience I've ever had in my life. I was like, hold on, like, I'm dreaming. Stephen, wake me up right now. Like, this is not our reality. And so he asked us if we wanted to get genetic testing done and all of that. And so we did, just to see, if if this is real. Yeah. And then they referred us to a cardiologist. And so I think it was like 2 or so weeks later, we went to the cardiologist, and for the first time, I feel like in my entire pregnancy, I felt just peace with him. Wow. He is still a phenomenal human. He did the ultrasound on my stomach, and then I started to cry because I could tell he was also confirming what we found out. And he put his hand on my lap, and he goes, sweetheart, everything's going to be okay. And that, like, I tell him all the time to this day, I'm like, you have no idea the peace that you gave me, because I know all of these doctors have to say certain things, warn you about certain things, but like, also it's good to know that things are going to be okay.
Yeah.
Or just better than what they're going to be right now.
Right.
And so, anyway, he kind of gave us a lot of peace going into this pregnancy. And so we get home that day. It tells you, to show you how the devil works. We get home that day, and I'm working on authentic stuff, and I get a phone call, and it's the specialist from Women's Hospital, and he goes, hey, I just want to call you and tell you your genetic testing came back, and there's a 52% chance she has Down syndrome. 52%.
Cara. Oh my gosh.
And so I'm like, okay, so what is this? I was like, did you see any other, signs, indicators that she could have Down syndrome? He goes, nope, I didn't see anything else. It's just her heart. He's like, but that doesn't mean anything. She could still have Down syndrome. And I'm like,
great. Glad we paid for these tests.
I am so glad they're so trustworthy. So anyway, he told me, he's like, but the thing is, with her heart defect, it could bring it up to 90% that she has Down syndrome. And I said, what do you mean could be? He's like, well, when you're looking at different charts and your age and all of this stuff, it brings it up to 90. And I'm like, so I love how you're determining my child's future with a chart. It's great. So anyway, we still didn't know. Like, there was no any other indicators in the rest of the ultrasounds. It was just her heart. And so we didn't know the rest of my pregnancy. What was that? Maybe 10 more weeks until I gave birth. We had no idea. And so it was just a time full of we were trying to grieve what could be our reality, and then we were also having faith that the Lord would touch her heart and heal her before she was born. And so it was just a lot of unknowns, a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, a lot of trying to have faith in what could be. And so finally at 35 weeks, I felt a little off, and we were actually on our way to church, and I told Stephen, I was like, hey, I think we should go home. I'm not feeling great. And so we went home. He took Ruby to the park. Both of our moms were out of town, which is so convenient.
Boy.
And I called my mom, and she's like, you probably should go get checked because I got to get on a plane if you're in labor. And so I called Stephen. I was like, all right, let's go to the hospital. I didn't want to. And we put Ruby in the car and we head to the hospital. And I go in the back at 2:50 p.m. They check me and I'm at 6 centimeters. And all of a sudden, like the panic of the past 10 weeks, it was like, okay, this is happening right now. We are about to find out what the rest of our life could look like.
Oh my gosh.
And so everybody starts panicking. We have to figure out a sitter for Ruby. Ruby's panicking because her mom's in pain and in a hospital bed, and she had to see all of that, which is tough to think about. But so Stephen brings Ruby home to stay with a friend. Thank God for them. And he comes back. They rushed me up to the delivery room, and I had to deliver in the OR because of her heart defect. Because one thing that I didn't mention was while I was pregnant, they told me that I had to deliver in the OR because they needed a resuscitation team on hand in case she came out not breathing. And so I get up to the OR. People are like I'm telling you, scrambling, like running down the hallway. There was a nurse in front of me running. Stephen was behind me trying to put on the scrubs. It was like there's a fuzz. Hi. Ruining my story. But anyway, running down the hallway, trying to get scrubs on and everything. And we get into the OR, and I remember laying in the bed, and they were trying to transfer me and everything. And I remember thinking, like, if I can just lay my eyes on Stephen, I'll be okay. Because so much of my pregnancy, like, was such a, he was such a rock. It still is. But anyway, I remember just thinking, like, if I can just find Stephen in this room, I'll be okay. So I look in the corner of the room, and he's panicking. And I look at him, and he just looks at me, and like, because you can't get close to each other in the OR, like it's, and so finally I start pushing, and he comes over, and within 2 pushes she was out, and she came out screaming, and we just lost it because we were told that wasn't going to happen. And so the doctor, she wasn't supposed to breathe. She wasn't.
So she's screaming.
Yeah, she's screaming, losing her mind. And so the doctor that delivered her, she was not my OB. She delivered her, and she was like, hey, by the way, I don't think she has Down syndrome. You know, like, she has, you know, very typical looking features, all of this. I don't think she has Down syndrome. So when they whisked her away to NICU, I didn't get to, you know, hold her or anything.
So hard.
In my mind, I'm thinking, okay, well, if we can just deal with the heart defect, if she doesn't have Down syndrome, we'll get through the heart defect, do the surgery, we'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Stephen is back and forth between my room while they're finishing up with me and the NICU room. And he knew whenever he went back, and he tells me all the time, like, he regrets this moment so much, but he said that he came in my delivery room, and the first thing I asked him was, does she have Down syndrome? And he already knew. And he looked at me, and he goes, I don't know. And he tells me, he's like, babe, I regret lying to you. And I'm like, you weren't lying to me. You were protecting me because you were giving me what now we know is okay. Mm-hmm. You were protecting me and giving me that peace for just a few more minutes. That was your way of guarding me and shielding me. You didn't want to tell me that news. And so,
Stephen.
I know.
So good.
Shout out to him.
So
first of all, I just want to honor him for a second because through all of this, he's also stewarding his team. He's also trying to bring income into the family. He's also trying to do, like, keep me sane, and that's not going well. and also taking care of Ruby, you know? And so it's just like, when I tell you he was my rock, it genuinely, like, he's an incredible human. So honor to you, babe. Okay.
So beautiful.
So anyway, the NICU doctor comes in and he goes, hey, she's a feisty one. Like, she's got an attitude on her, which is so true. But I do think she has trisomy 21.
Okay.
And so after that, everything went like black, you know, those like moments where you hear what's happening, but like again, an outer body experience that I've never had happen to me before. And Stephen tells me that he grabbed my face and he goes, hey, we're still going to have an extraordinary life. Like, we're still going to have an amazing life. I don't remember that, but I believe him. I'm sure I'm sure he did say that. And so,
wow.
I actually got to hold her right after that moment. And I'm not going to lie, when I first held her, it was a different experience than holding Ruby. I felt almost, it was like a stranger in my arms, and it breaks my heart to say that, but it's like, I got told this reality that we were going to have 2 minutes ago, and I don't feel like it's my baby, you know? And
wow.
It's something that I've had to really process, because I've heard a lot of stories of moms with babies with Down syndrome, and they held them for the first time, and like, that was it. They fell in love. And it's like, while I loved this baby because she was mine, it was also something that, like, it was new at the same time. Like, I'm trying to process this news, but also I'm holding this baby. Like, it was just wild. Yeah. Wild.
Wow.
So after that, we spent 25 days in the NICU. And it was a lot of back and forth and a lot of tears, a lot of pain. But she's so strong and so incredible. And she had her open heart surgery at 6 months old. And that was the most difficult, relieving, stressful, scary, exciting day.
Very complex.
It's so complex, because it was like, we've waited for this day for so long for her heart to be whole. We call it her miracle day. So sweet. But it was just the most weird thing, handing your baby off to these doctors and just trusting that everything was going to go okay. And so, yeah, it was bizarre, but she is whole and healed and a rock star, and
she's definitely a rock star.
She is knocking it out of the park. So that's our indie joy.
Wow. Indie joy.
Yes, that is our indie joy.
She came in like a whirlwind.
She did.
For sure.
She hasn't stopped. She has not stopped.
That is a lot.
Yeah.
Like a whole lot. And that's just in the past year.
Yes.
All of this the past year. Your whole world is different.
Rocked.
But beautifully.
Yes.
I love just some of the things that stick out to me that you just shared. Like that moment when you held Indy for the first time.
Yeah.
Like the unknowns that are racing through your head. Like, you know, deep down, God's got this. He's got a plan. Everything's good.
Oh, yeah.
But like, there is just so many questions that come with that. And did you guys like have a familiarity?
There you go. You got it.
Or did you like have a relationship or any connection with people who had Down syndrome in the past? Or was this just kind of like coming out of left field?
We did it.
I don't know.
Completely left field. The only thing I kind of had a connection with was back in middle school. I don't know if you remember Camp Barnabas.
Oh, yes.
I went one summer, and it's a camp designed for special needs, not specifically Down syndrome, but all special needs. And when I tell you, if you want to go to a place where your world is rocked, go there. It is the most incredible camp. You can go there. And I was a barnstormer, so I was like scrubbing toilets. I didn't even get the cool part of having an actual camper, but just being around people with Down syndrome or any other kind of special needs, it is the most amazing time ever, because they live how we're supposed to live, and they live with this unapologetic life.
Yes.
They don't care if someone's looking at them while they're dancing. They're like, come dance with me, you know? And it's just like, it was the most incredible experience. So that was the only real time like that I had with anyone with Down syndrome. And so this completely came out of left field, especially for Steven, because I don't think he really had any experience. And so, yeah.
That'll send your head spinning for sure. Like I am a super fan of anybody with Down syndrome. Like I'm wearing my crazy socks today. I know all the things, and I'm just so happy. But that, like, even when they presented the idea of like doing genetic testing when I was pregnant, I was like, yes, I'd love to have a baby. That would be so cool.
I know.
But then the reality of that being a possibility, I remember just processing, what would that be? And it is terrifying.
Yeah.
Like, I know for me, I think, and we've talked about this a second ago, but like, I think that we're all missing a chromosome.
Yes.
Like people who have Down syndrome, you can't speak on behalf of not everybody's the same, but the common thread that we all see is like that purity of heart, that innocence. That I was like, that's what
we have
God,
it wrong.
Like we're the ones who are missing something here. Because I think that they just represent and reflect the nature that God has and that he calls us to have.
Absolutely.
It's such a beautiful invitation.
Yeah.
And I just like, you guys now, you're a year into it.
Yeah.
I just met Indy a minute ago for the first time. Like, I literally cried.
She lost her mind, guys.
Literally cried. Like me and Gabby and Claire, like all of us are in here just like surrounding her. Yeah. She just carries such a beautiful presence about her.
I tell Steven all the time, I say, how cool is it? Like, it's hard. Trust me, it's hard.
Yes.
But how cool is it to get to steward a daughter that has a total different outlook on the kingdom than we do, or connection with the Lord? You know, like if you think about it, like she has a connection with the Lord that I'll never have, unfortunately, because my pride's going to get in the way. My human flesh is going to get in the way. And while she'll still have attitudes and be in bad moods and all of that, you can't tell me that her connection with the Lord isn't more pure than mine.
Wow.
And look, and we get to steward that. We get to help grow that and witness what the Lord's going to use her to do. And so, it while it goes hand in hand of really hard crap, if I'm going to be honest, that we have to go through, and the challenges that come with Down syndrome, in the same hand, it's the greatest honor. It really is. And so,
how have some of your, like, the big questions and the fears initially, because there's so much unknown, how have some of those things changed over this past year? Like, I can't imagine bringing a kid in for surgery. Like, when Cosmo was a baby, if he'd get a cold, I would weep. Like, I can't. I just can't. I can't have this. So that's a lot.
Yes.
But I feel like you guys, a year in, and I want to interview like every year and just see how things change. But
interview her in a few years. See how she's doing.
That would be so fun. Indy's like 5th birthday, she comes in, and Ruby too. They'll both come in.
Oh, that would be a hot mess.
That'd be so funny. I love, like, I have a question here, but I love how I've heard, and maybe not everybody does this, but families with a child who has Down syndrome or anything, there's a community called the Lucky Few.
There is.
Which I love that.
Yep.
Do you guys consider, what are some of the ways that you have gotten to that place? At first, you're like, I don't feel lucky.
No, 100%.
But that journey, 100%. I feel like now you guys do.
So I'm going to be honest. There are some days where I'm like, this does not feel lucky. You know what I mean? Because there's therapy 3 times a week. There's doctor's appointments. There's cardiologist appointments. There is things that I didn't take into consideration with having a completely typical healthy child that I have to take into consideration with Indy. And so there are still some days that I really struggle. Same for Steven. I think how we've gotten to that place, though, is therapy, one.
That's helpful.
Yes, the Holy Spirit. But also realizing that when I was pregnant with her, I had 2 people, completely 2 different occasions, come up to me and go, we don't know what's going to happen, but we know it's going to be good. And that's kind of been the trend for Indy's life, is I don't know why she was given to us and why we've had some of the quote unquote issues as far as her heart, sicknesses, all that kind of stuff. However, I know it's going to be good. And I know she is good, because every good and perfect gift comes from the Lord. And so if he gave her to us, then it's going to be good. And so I think that's kind of been our reminder throughout this year and a half, is like, it may suck and it may not feel so lucky right now, but we know this is going to be so good and so rich. Like, I picture our life in the future with her when she's a teenager, and looking back on this time, be like, y'all had no idea. Like, no idea what you were in for, and just how much better our lives are going to be because of her, and the people around us, you know, like our friends and family. Yeah, like how much better she's just gonna make our world. So
it was so cool.
That's kind of how we've gotten there, and still getting there.
It's beautiful.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah,
I would imagine, like, in the beginning, you guys maybe felt a sense of isolation, or maybe a fear of isolation. Like, what is this going to do? I'm not going to be able to do this and that, and she's
100%.
not going to be able to do this and that. But have you maybe seen some of the flip side happen? Like, I notice you guys seem to have new connections and new, like, opportunities to connect with a different community. Like, have you seen that flip a little bit?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think one, there's a amazing community for Down syndrome. So, like, if you're listening to this and you're in a city, we're in Baton Rouge, there's an amazing community here. I know they're across the nation of just amazing communities to connect to. And that's been so fun to get connected to as well. Yeah. I'm not going to lie, when she first was born, I had that thought, which is absolutely ridiculous. I had that thought of, like, what are my friends going to think? Like, are they going to love her like they love Ruby? You know, like, are they going to accept her for what she is and who she is? Because Ruby is a typical 4-year-old, you know? Indy comes in with all her extraness. Are they going to love her the way they love our Ruby girl? And so that was a huge fear. That was a huge, it made me not want to go places. It made me want to kind of retreat from friendships, because I also didn't know what our friends, like, would they feel awkward of not knowing what to say or say the right things, or, you know, it's just a whole thing. Because no one, if I wasn't in this situation and my friend was, not having any background in Down syndrome, special needs, whatever, it would be a hard place to try to connect to her, because I don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't want to, you know, make her upset. I don't want to. Yeah. And so I didn't want to put people in that situation of, like, I don't want them to feel awkward or feel bad for saying something, you know? And so for a while, it was very isolating.
Wow.
And we also didn't want her to get sick, because before her heart surgery, it's very risky. And so the first 6 months, we were very isolated for that reason. And of course, it was in the winter. And so major RSV and flu season. Which she ended up getting RSV anyway. But but so it was a very isolating season. And so I think what has kind of bridged that gap is just stepping out and realizing that, like, our friends love her and our family love her no matter what, and it doesn't matter. I know. And so it was just a irrational thought in my mind, and but it did cause isolation, and it did cause almost a fear of, like, I don't want to be around people to cause that. So, yeah, it was tough. It was tough for a long time.
Yeah.
So
that is so hard.
Yeah.
But I love how the script just changed.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
People probably, like, your fears have been laid to rest. Like, people are just,
now I'm, like, showing her off. You know what I mean?
And she don't care either. Like, you like me or not, I don't care. I'm me. It's
exactly.
So sweet. She's the coolest.
And again, what a lesson to learn, like, from her. Like,
true.
Who cares?
True. Man, such a sweet baby. So, I did want to ask you, and you mentioned this, like, the idea of, like, people who don't know. Like, I've spent hours, like, what do you say? What do you not say?
Yes.
And I still say the wrong thing.
Yes.
But there's such a beauty in falling in love with a person. Like,
100%.
Indy is not okay with Down syndrome. She's Indy.
She's
She happens to have Down syndrome.
Yes.
But I know that you, especially in people who have never had a connection to this community, they're going to say the wrong thing. They're going to be curious in the wrong way. Or sometimes maybe their intentions are right, but it just does not come across. And the only way for people to, like, learn their blind spots is to lean into that and want to see.
Right.
So as a mom, like
Yeah.
you're in this a year, what are things that you wish people knew, or like how they handle just their curiosity?
Yeah. I don't think it's ever wrong to ask questions, even if you may think, is this a bad thing to ask? I think how you start the conversation is most important. So when you see Indy or any other kid with Down syndrome, you talk to them just like you would talk to another 1-year-old or a 3-year-old or whatever they may be. Are they going to respond the same way that that typical age would? Maybe not. Maybe they will. But I think just putting yourself kind of in the same realm as you would talk to a typical child is huge. And so, again, I don't think asking questions is wrong. My 4-year-old the other day, there was a kid in the restaurant and he was visibly older and he was drinking from a bottle and she was staring. And I think the first thing to do as a parent, or the first thought to do, is be like, don't look. But she's curious. She's a 4-year-old. And so I took the time to educate her and say, like, you see how he's eating? That's the way he eats. Do you see how you're eating? You're eating with your hands. You're both eating. One just looks different than the other.
That's
and she
good.
goes, oh, okay. And then didn't care. Like,
good job, Mama.
Didn't mention it. And so I think it's okay to ask questions and it's okay to educate. I think it's just people get so wrapped up sometimes in just Down syndrome or whatever it may be. And it's like, look at her and view her as a baby first.
Right.
And then go from there. Ask questions. Be curious, because, educationally comes from those questions. And so I think it's just good to just talk to that kid or adult as you would somebody else, and just go from there.
See the beauty.
See them for who they are. Yes.
Because if you have Down syndrome, you're not the same as everybody. Like,
right.
There's some beautiful story and personality.
Exactly.
And a friend.
Yes.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask too, like, some of our listeners may be in a similar situation. I love that this is, I would call it, it's not fresh, like it's a year in, but like we're going to have Gabby on one day and she's going to talk about her journey, and we're going to have you back. But I love the place that you guys are at. It's still very much so you're figuring out the sweet, and it's unfolding. And I think that you have a fresh perspective. You have a sincerity and just an empathy. For you can feel. It's not like, oh, that happened a long time ago. Like, you still feel that. So for anybody who's listening who maybe is in a similar situation, maybe not identical, but just having that, okay, my life is going to be a lot different. I know I'm going to trust God, but it is hard. Would you speak to whoever?
No, absolutely.
What would you encourage them with?
First thing I would say is congratulations. If you just got your diagnosis of Down syndrome, congratulations. That's something I wish I would have heard. And congratulations. Amen. It's going to be a wild ride, but it's amazing. The second thing I would say is it's okay to grieve what you thought you were going to have, but also be really excited. This was the first time in my life where I experienced joy and grief, and they can go hand in hand. Wow. And it's okay to be really mad and really angry and question a lot of things, but also like be really excited and still take maternity pictures and still do things for yourself and the baby. But it's okay to also be really sad and be upset about what you just found out. And again, also that you're not alone, because there's a community wherever you live that wants to just wrap you up and douse you with love, that like they've done with me. And I think also getting a community where moms know, like, you know, like Down syndrome moms know, like it's hard and it's not all smiles and giggles. It's hard, but it's also a community that you need to be a part of and be wrapped up in. So
that's so good, Cara. And so encouraging. Yes, congratulations.
Where's the camera I need to look at? Congratulations. This one?
Y'all.
Congratulations.
Woo, we're throwing you a party.
So proud of you.
Where's the confetti?
Yes.
We have a box.
Yes.
I love that. And I love that, okay, you said just the joy that she brings, even like hard times, but her name How did you choose?
Okay,
was that a plan?
So that was not a
Okay.
So
I mean,
I don't remember when we picked her middle name. We had Indy for a long time.
so cool.
We couldn't.
Love that name.
I love it too. We couldn't figure out a middle name, and so finally we got to the end of my pregnancy, and I told Steven. I don't even think I asked him. I think I just told him Joy is going to be her middle name, because what the devil tried to steal during my pregnancy, she's going to live out for the rest of her life. And that's what I told him. And so her name is Indy Joy, because I truly believe that we had 3 months of complete torment with the unknown and fear and just complete chaos, that I was like, her name is going to be Joy, because she is going to live out this undignified, pure joy for the rest of her life. And it's going to impact all of us. So
dude, that's nuts.
That's
I
her
have
name.
so many chills because it's true. You prophesied that, and it really is.
She is a joy.
She has it, and she brings it to everyone.
Yes.
And you guys as a family represent that so well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
I want to shift a little bit, back to you.
Yeah.
You are so amazing. You have this drive like no other. When I think of Cara, I think of Couvillions. They're just the most driven people. And you just have this ambition, these dreams, and not only do you talk about it, but you actually do it. You started a boutique. You guys, Steven left his job to start his own thing, and y'all are running like crazy. You've got babies. And then, whoa, everything's changed.
Yeah.
And you have done so much work. You guys are an amazing couple. But how has this past year challenged your identity and made it better, I guess? How are you fleshing that out and finding yourself, keeping care of yourself, finding fulfillment?
Dude, it's so tough. It's so tough. Because when Indy came into the picture, I also picked up this identity of a special needs mom.
Okay.
And I think that is something that only special needs moms will understand, of how hard that is, because of, like I said earlier, we have therapy 3 times a week, we have doctor's appointments, and we have my life is catered around my kids right now, and as it should be. That's the season that we're in. I kind of get to the end of the day and I'm like, whoa, what have I chosen for myself today? And it's really hard. It's so, and especially having to kind of release the authentic for this season, that was another grieving process that I had to go through, because that was something I picked up for myself. And then I had to lay it back down and realize that that's not something I can do right now. It'll come back later. And so it's really hard to try to find that balance of taking care of myself, because again, with Indy, it's totally different leaving her than it was Ruby. There's a lot of trauma and a lot of fear, and it's something I'm truly having to process, talk through all of that, because it's a whole other ball game with a baby with special needs. And so we're lucky and blessed that she doesn't have really any crazy needs other than just Down syndrome, but it's still a lot of trauma attached to her getting to where we're at now. And so it's really hard. It's something that Steven and I have to work through almost a weekly basis, because he also has to take care of himself, and finding that balance of, okay, outside of our kids, outside of our marriage, he's not Cara. I'm Cara. He's Steven. How do we take care of ourselves? It's hard. It's really, really hard. So it's something that we have to just kind of practice weekly. Choose something. Mine's working out. If it's 30 minutes a day, I try to get that in. I've recently picked up running again, because I realize I can just strap Indy in and
that's awesome.
just take her running.
That's so great.
So that's one thing that I've tried to put into my schedule on a daily basis, is just get 30 minutes in of working out and take care of myself.
Everything.
Oh, it does. It really does, especially for me. Yes.
That is so cool. Motherhood is one of the most challenging things I've ever done.
Yes.
So
it is so hard.
There's way more sacrificial than they let on, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, 100%.
It's hard.
Yeah.
But it's the biggest blessing,
It
too.
is.
So
it is.
I think that I know I'm like doting on you guys, but I can't help it. But I just think that the way that you guys operate your family, even the answer that you just gave, it is so much values-based. I feel like you're, and Dr. Y, who we've interviewed before, talks about like you arrange your life based on your values.
Yeah.
But I think you guys are so intentional to do that. You don't, it's not a reactive thing, but it's like, hey, you got to take care of yourself. I got to do this. I got to do that. I think it's just amazing how you guys organize everything so intentionally. Do you have any practical advice for people out there? Maybe they relate to your story, maybe they don't, but they're like, I just want to get a handle on things. Like, life's crazy, things have happened, but I want to put my best foot forward. I want to take care of everything. What are some practical things you guys can?
I think my biggest thing, I can't speak for Steven, because Steven is so like, oh my gosh, he is a schedule-oriented morning routine.
Very regimented guy.
Oh my gosh, he's an inspiration. Truly, I am not that way at all. I'm like, I got up at this time today and I did this and, you know, whatever. And so, but one thing that really helps me is picking one thing that's most important for me that day. For me.
So good.
Like, I know Indy has therapy. I have to pick up Ruby from school. Ruby has gymnastics, whatever. Like, all of that's for them. But what is one thing that's for me that day? Most of the time it's working out, or it's going for a run, or sometimes it's taking a really long bath and like taking my time by myself. But I think it's that's really helped me, is like, okay, I look at my day today and all of this has to happen and it's gonna happen, but what is one thing I can get in for myself?
I love that, Cara.
And so that's kind of helped me do that. I can answer for Steven, and I know exactly what he would say. His is a morning routine. If he doesn't get up and do his morning routine at like 5:30 a.m., oh yeah, he's like in the ice bath like at 5:30.
I can't stand it when he posts those. I'm like,
I know. It is terrible. Don't ever let him.
So scary.
It's so bad. Don't ever let him convince you to do it. But he is very much like, if he doesn't get his morning routine in, whether he's reading, working out, doing his ice bath, or whatever, then his whole day is thrown off. And so maybe that will work for some of the listeners. Yeah, maybe that works for you. Me, it's just I'd find one thing that I can do for myself, and that will help me be a better human, because
so good. I'm gaining inspiration from that. I'm like, Steven, I can't follow up. I can't do that. That does not help me. That makes me angry.
I know.
So one thing, I can definitely take that. And that leads me to like the last question would just be like, what's some homework that you would give our listeners? And maybe it is what you just said, but is there anything that you're listening to or reading or anything we should?
Well, that's the other funny thing about me. Steven is like the one book a day person, or one book a week. Like he finishes books. Like we get, he's a book person, an audio book, like everything. He's fantastic. Me, not it. There's got to be, a balance, right? We both can't be.
Opposites attract, for sure, for a reason.
But homework for me, and I was, thinking about this the other day, I think it would just be to, I don't want to say educate yourself, because that sounds very harsh, but just find someone that may live life differently than you do, and just ask questions and get a relationship with that person. Because I think being in this special needs community, it's opened my eyes to how beautiful this world is, and how kids, adults live their life, and how it all doesn't look like ours. And I know that's so like almost like elementary to say, but it's like, it's just opened my eyes to this whole other world that I think a lot of people don't tap into and don't get the opportunity to look at. And so to me, it's just being open to people that may not live like you do, but that's okay, and it may look different. I don't call Indy's Down syndrome a disability. I call it a different ability, and it's like it may look different than another 1-year-old, but it's just different. It's not wrong.
I love that, Cara. Yeah. So good. I think like just the idea of letting that curiosity drive you. Yeah. It's so good.
Our world is so beautiful, and everyone does things differently and thinks differently and operates in a whole other way. And it's like, let's figure out and love each other for it.
I love it. Yeah. There's so many dimensions of God's love to know, and humans represent that.
Yeah.
So getting curious and falling in love and that wonder.
Yes.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
It's such an honor just to like get to explore your heart and your thoughts and your soul. Like your soul. No, but we love y'all. Thank you for being on today.
It was an honor, seriously. It was such an honor. Yes.
Thank y'all so much for tuning in. We'll catch you next time on the Friend to Friend podcast.
Yes.
Peace
Bye.
out. Thanks so much for watching today's episode. We hope you loved it. If anything stuck out to you, drop a comment and let us know. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all the fun things. And if you're looking for us on social media, you can find us at Children's Cup.